Good evening. I'm going to call the February 22nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Town Board to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Present.
Councilmember Delarada.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
Councilmember Brennan.
Here.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Here. Thank you. We'll all now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I please have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the January 25th, 2022 regular town board meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes from January 25th, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We will now move into the public hearing. Will the clerk please call the public hearing?
A public hearing on a special use permit for a mixed-use building at 1930 Hillside Avenue.
Thank you. Now the public hearing is open. The public hearing is still open. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak? Okay, seeing that there is no one here to speak at the public hearing, I'm now closing this public hearing, and we will move on to our committee reports. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to move on to privilege of the floor. Thank you.
Linda Rizzo, 2220. Does someone want to speak? No, let him go if he's ready. No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Please, you have the floor. Please state your name and your address and unmute yourself.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. No.
Okay, we'll move forward. And when he returns, we'll come back to Mr. Thornton. Linda, would you like to please have the floor? State your name and your address.
Linda Rizzo, 2229 Fairlawn Parkway, Niskayuna. I'm addressing the human resource position that you have on the agenda. I want to point out since 2019, the Comptroller's Office has had major financial increases. I don't know if you're aware of that or if you looked at the agenda, at the budget. 2019, it was $202,347. 2020, it was $266,872. 2021, it was up to $70,418. And in 2022, it hit $215,000. Now, this does not include benefits. This is a 43% increase without benefits. If you include benefits, and this is a rough estimation, you're probably looking at possibly a 59% increase, and they're just those few short years. Now, I realized you hired a controller, and as you know, I was against the fact it wasn't advertised nor interviewed. The person, after being on the job for 1 month, got 2 extra vacation pays, and her experience was cited. She may have experience, but it's not heavy in accounting. She also has 4 people working in her office. Now, a human resource firm or management firm is needed. If you had advertised and interviewed, you may have hired someone who didn't possibly need all the help. In addition, a human resource manager is not an advocate for employees. They hire, recommend removal, or disciplinary actions. They negotiate contracts. In addition, you have an attorney that's paid $80,000. Is she not capable of performing some of these tasks? Why hire a town attorney if anytime someone does something, you need to hire an outside firm that cost us almost $120,000 plus dollars? That's a lot of money. What is happening is that I believe when things are political or appointments seem political, these type of things happen. Let me remind you, we are in a very bad inflationary period. With Russia's incursion of the Ukraine, it has been estimated that inflation may hit 10%. Think about that. You're increasing the comptroller's budget over the last 3 years since 2020. Well, actually, I said 2019 has gone up that much. That's just that one line item. I didn't look at the other ones. During the campaign, there was discussion that the town needed an independent audit performed by the state. I believe Councilman Moskowitz, as a candidate, you agreed and pledged to fight for such an audit. When are you going to sponsor a resolution calling for such an audit? It may be voted down. I would hope it wouldn't be, because that would demonstrate, unfortunately, that whoever voted it down as our elected officials really didn't care about their fiduciary responsibility or simply has something to hide. I stress campaign promises should be kept. Getting back to the human resource position, again, this is not a position to advocate for your employees. I mean, to present it as that is ludicrous. I know about human resource. I've done the job. And I was in charge of 300 people. A human resource position is to hire, fire, make recommendations, interview people, etc. It's not an employee advocate person who is just there for the employee. The human resource person is there for the town. You are paying them to be your representative in those areas. And I really don't see right now you need to hire someone like that. I'm sorry. You know, again, inflation is going up and up. In the paper the other day, there was a letter from a person, I think he's the mayor in Scotia, who is saying something about, well, we should just have the ability to override the tax cap. I don't think he's going to be running for re-election. That's ludicrous. You cannot do that during an inflationary period. I would presume you will vote for this position. I would presume you would vote for this position under the guise that this is to benefit employees. It's not an advocate for employees, that type of position. And I really don't understand why the comptroller cannot handle those issues with 4 people on her staff, with the increases this department has received since those over the last 3 years, a 43% increase without benefits. Throw benefits in, it hits approximately 58% increase. You are doing this in a time of high inflation while residents have to watch their pocketbook, they have to watch their spending. I cannot increase my household expenses 43%. I don't think anyone can in Niskayuna right now. And I don't really see a need for it, and it's frustrating. Because you can talk to your blue in the face from this podium, you can present the increases in that one department, a 43% increase without benefits, and then explain away the need for this position under the guise that it's to be an advocate for employees. That is not an advocacy position. No one's going to go to someone like that who has the ability to recommend you get fired, disciplined, etc. That's my feeling. And I'd like to end on one positive note. We had a very difficult ice storm, or actually snowstorm. It was really a very strange one. And I have to say, and to Ray, you guys did an excellent job. I mean, there were a lot of roads around that were hard to get through. Even the side streets in Niskayuna were real. I mean, well, Niskayuna is all side streets, mainly the town, but they were easy to get through. And I thank both our chairs of that department, Jason and Bill and Ray, for doing that. And I'm under my 5 minutes. Can you believe it? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton, would you like to try again?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes. Please state your name and your address.
Roy Thornton, 1337 Regent Street. And if I could use screen sharing, I'd appreciate it. Oh, there we go. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Very good. Let's see if I can expand this. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation. A copy of my complete presentation was mailed to each town board member, and I have given versions of this to the Highway Department and to the Conservation Advisory Council. So what is the issue? Very briefly, pollinators and other butterflies and wild bees and so on are in trouble, and the capped landfill can provide them with pesticide-free living and dining. Grassland birds are also in the decline in the Northeast. There's a variety of those, and the capped landfill can provide the tall grass enough acreage and undisturbed nesting for successful nesting. This is a picture of the top of the landfill looking out over the river. And the goal would be to make this a haven for pollinators and ground nesting birds. And why the landfill? The acreage is large enough to support grassland birds. 20 acres is the minimum recommended by various organizations. The mowing can be limited while meeting the EPA requirements to keep the top of the landfill free of brush and woody growth. You don't have to use herbicides and insecticides. Limiting mowing would allow wildflowers to flourish for pollinators and butterflies, and few, if any, other grasslands exist in Niskayuna. So far in Niskayuna, 2 small areas have been set aside for reduced mowing. Those are great for wildflowers, but they are not really big enough for many of the grassland birds. This year, or actually last year, the town left a large part of the landfill cap unmowed during the summer and early fall, providing an opportunity for the ground nesting birds and the pollinators to thrive. The town has also agreed to the Conservation Advisory Council's Low Mow initiative, a wildflower meadow next to the golf driving range, and signs are being designed. I'm sure you already know about that. We have a fair number of supporters. There's over 30 people and 3 organizations that have confirmed to me by email that they will support this project. What are we hoping for? We hope that the town will designate most of the large landfill cap as a wildlife habitat for pollinators and grassland birds, that no mowing of this habitat be done between May 15 and September 15th, maybe a little bit earlier and a little bit later for that window. That if there are walking paths through that habitat, they'd be limited in number and width, and that signs be placed to inform the public of the purposes of the habitat and to delineate the areas of limited mowing. The benefits to Niskayuna could be good publicity for promoting wildlife habitat, and it will provide a natural outdoor venue for student learning and projects, additional opportunities for bird watching and pollinator watching, an enhanced summer experience, enhanced summer programs for youth, and reduced mowing costs. The wildlife habitat at Blatnick Park is a treasure, and I think we should protect it and make it better. That summarizes what I have. I would be delighted to meet with the town board members or representatives to answer questions. And Susan Polsinelli has said she might be able to help arrange one or more of those meetings. Thank you again for the chance to make this presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Thornton. I agree. Having a low mow area is so important. In fact, I have a wide swath in my yard that is low mow and pesticide free. So it's a haven for birds and bees and bunny rabbits. So I thank you so much for that presentation. Are there any other speakers for privilege of the floor?
Hello, my name's Ellen DeViro. I live at 1322 Hawthorne Road in Niskayuna, and I just came to support Roy Thornton and the initiative, and I'm part of the CAC, and I'm hoping it's something that you will consider. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Leslie Gold, 1919 Pawtucket Avenue. I had not seen Mr. Thornton's presentation before, but I like it and I agree with it. I think we need to do more to protect our environment. I did want to comment on the Human Resources Management contract because it's really a contract with a consulting service. It's not an in-house human resources position. I still support an in-house position. I will also note that managing or supervising a large number of employees does not necessarily make one a human resources specialist. In case of municipal government, you're bound by state civil service law for municipalities, which closely parallels the area I worked in, which is state civil service administration for state agencies. And I disagree that human resources positions don't advocate for the employees. They often do. The job is to balance both the needs and concerns of the employer with the rights of the employees. And in the public sector, with the taxpayers' right to have well-qualified people in the positions and to have the positions properly established, et cetera. The consulting service seems I don't know anything about how employees would access it for information. An in-house position would be able to do that. But it really sounds more like it's a consulting service to help the town out legally rather than provide the full range of services. So I still support a part-time human resources position that would be accountable to everybody.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay, if there are no other comments, then we will move on to committee reports. We'll start with police and public safety.
Thank you. The Police Reform Implementation Task Force met on February 2nd. We are making progress on our goals to review recommendations and organize them based on budgetary impact and timelines. Our next meeting is March 3rd at 5:30. For fleet and equipment, a vehicle maintenance bid was put out publicly, and we anticipate awarding that contract this evening with a resolution. For training, we have Officer Henry, who has completed his defensive tactics instructor training. Sergeant Relation is attending supervisor school February 21st through March 11th as a requirement of his new position. And the department is completing training on autism, emotional and psychological disorders, and missing persons with Alzheimer's disease. For citizens issues, we have our Story Avenue issues, and the plan is to present a resolution this evening to restrict commercial vehicles over 2,000 pounds. An additional no parking sign will be installed by highway. Officers will be circulating in that area as this transition occurs to advise commercial vehicles before tickets are given in order to give time to acclimate to the new rule. And the school district understands that buses are not to utilize that area unless there is a student there needing a bus. We had Mary Ann Kapunen, who requested a stop yield sign at the intersection of Middle and East Street, as it's an uncontrolled intersection. There was a public hearing on January 25th regarding this, and our committee plans to discuss this with neighbors and be planful about changing the traffic flow. Vanessa Wheeler of Fillmore Avenue is concerned about speed, and there's an ongoing traffic study and data is being analyzed. Aaron Hull of Dean Street has safety issues regarding volume and speed. One concern he has is that the data collected by the electronic sign is not accurate because people slow down when they see the sign. So the department is planning on turning lights off on the sign, but keeping the speed tracker on to review that data. Mr. Hull also wondered about the street diet, including crosswalks, more trees, and thinning of the road. And Mr. Hull also wondered about restricting commercial vehicles except local delivery, but the concern is that it will just push traffic to other roads. And we're going to continue to look at those concerns. From the town clerk's office, the APF contract was passed through resolution at the January town board meeting. And there are currently 327 delinquent dog letters going out. For court issues, there is an increase in evictions, and the increase has started and is anticipated to continue. The centralized arraignment off hours will start soon. Matt Chevier at New York State Office of Court Administration hasn't given a date yet. And our new clerk, Lisa Sirota, is doing very well. For the school district, the department spoke with John Ricker at the high school, and 10 parking spots will be designated for staff to utilize during the capital project when needed. For personnel, the department is currently processing potential recruit candidates from the most up-to-date police test. We are hoping to find a candidate for the March Academy class. The Take Me Home project, we have found that we have outdated software, so we're exploring developing our own tracking software. For the Severe Weather Welfare Check Program, we're continuing to explore that. Chief Goshen found that the county has pieces of this program already ready to go, and it's online, so we're looking to push that and promote those pieces and build off of those. Community surveys are continuing to be explored as what would be the most impactful to implement, which ways we could do that. We have a resolution needed tonight to pass the Stop DWI grant. It's $9,750 for personal services and $3,000 for high visibility enforcement. And we have a resolution needed to accept matching funds for the purchase and implementation of body-worn cameras. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 3rd at 3:30.
And the report for community programs.
All right, community programs, our universal application has been completed and posted. It will be blasted out on April 1st. The facility use manual is being finished up, and we are looking for an end of March completion date. For summer planning, we have soccer that will be Mondays and Wednesdays, 5:45 to 8. It'll be $50 a person, and we are looking for coaches, so please contact Julie Lohr if you are interested. For our senior program items, Linda O'Brien gave us an update on the lunch program. They're distributing about 50 lunches on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Linda also noted that the senior exercise program is still hybrid. They're looking forward to summer and hoping to also implement a water aerobics program twice a week. Yoga has begun, and the book club continues to be popular. To Kill a Mockingbird is the book for March. A library area is being created, and this will be great to utilize for the Alzheimer's support group as well as the reading group. There will be a little bit more privacy there. On March 4th, they are hosting an art in for local artists. There'll be 16 artists who will come in and demonstrate their craft. And Linda had questioned if the senior blast could also go out to the whole community so that caregivers would also have the information. And Seth said that this could be possible if we prioritize the most important information. And if you don't already, you can follow the Senior Center on Facebook. And the next meeting is March 3rd at 3 o'clock.
Thank you. Seth, is it possible Mr. Thornton will stop presenting? Or do we need to have him do that?
Yeah, Mr. Thornton, can you please go to the bottom of your screen where it says stop sharing in blue? Can you click that for us? There we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Okay, moving on to Public Works.
Thank you, Supervisor. Public Works, Transportation and Public Facilities, we met on February 3rd. At that meeting, we reviewed the minutes from our last meeting. As always, we discussed personnel. We also discussed Christmas tree pickup, which is now completed. Our parks crews have been working on the trail systems in some of our parks when there isn't snow and there's brush and areas that can be cleared. This is some of the work that they do in the winter, cutting down dead trees, that sort of thing. And they also work with the highway department on working on their equipment, getting all of our equipment ready for the springtime, painting at the facility, doing all kinds of other things that we do in the winter time. We also discussed items that need to go out to bid: Dean Street Park mowing, Baker Ave Park, temporary labor for yard waste pickup, and mowing services for various holding ponds in the town, and getting our bids out for those. We have town board approval resolutions for accepting our rollover bids for paving, quotes for seeding, fertilizing, mulch services, and maintenance upkeep. We also discussed yard waste at our meeting. We did discuss, as Mr. Thornton presented tonight, about the no mowing at the landfill. Our discussion with that is some of the things that may occur. We have a disc golf course over there in that same area. So as Ray discussed with us, we have to look at that and see how we can hopefully make that work. I think there's very much in favor of that, doing that, but we have to work out the logistics of that. So that was discussed at our meeting. Also, the CAC has recommended planting wildflowers at Blatnick Park. Again, we're all in favor of that. So these are all things that we talk about and work on at the meetings. One little reminder to everyone, snowstorm coming up. No overnight parking on the town roads. We don't want to have any cars on the town roads in the way of the plows, and we don't want the police department to have to go out and ticket people and tow vehicles. So no overnight parking. That goes for the entire winter time, but it's especially more important when we've got storms coming. Our next meeting will be March 2nd at 8 a.m. Moving right on to water and sewer and engineering. That meeting, we discussed some attorney items about Pierce Road sewer extension, the Whitmire Drive sewer extension, our city water contract, Dish Network, and then replacing some equipment on one of our water towers. And we also discussed town code changes regarding illegal dumping, and we're working with all department heads, not only the chief of police, but highway, water and sewer, and all different areas in our town to get a code and a resolution together for the board for illegal dumping. So that was discussed at the meeting. Water and sewer maintenance, we discussed purchase of pump for the Fillmore Pump Station. There'll be a resolution for that. Maintenance contract for our SCADA software. This is our software that our employees use to monitor all the equipment when they're not on site. We have many different pump stations in the town, all over the town. And this allows them to monitor that equipment when they're not on site. We discussed some vehicle and equipment replacement issues, an appointment for a tentative maintenance worker, and one other good news thing. We discussed our annual INI report that we've been giving to the DEC for many, many years, and we're hopeful that this may be our last year of having to do that report for them. Our utility billing for the fourth quarter, we have a resolution for that to go out. On Tuesday, myself and Councilman Moskowitz met at the wastewater treatment plant with ESG and our employees of the town, discussing some things at the wastewater treatment plant. And in that meeting, we're very hopeful with working with ESG to hopefully get some issues straightened out at the plant and get it up and running to its best capabilities. The water treatment plant is in the final design stages, and we are still looking for a person for the recycling center transfer station. And our next meeting, again, is March 2nd at 8 a.m. That's all I had.
Thank you. And now Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee.
Thank you, Supervisor. We meet on the first Friday every month. We meet next on March 4th, which I believe is a week from tomorrow. And I think we're still hybrid as well as in person here in Town Hall. Look forward to seeing as many as possible. We are moving along with our economic development in the town of Niskayuna. As you know, we got a couple of temporary COs in Knott's Landing West, right up the street. Also, the Rivers Ledge is moving along very, very nicely. The grants are coming forward. We have climate smart grants, and those are going in conjunction with our Complete Streets Committee to try to connect everything and make our town more walkable and bikeable. We are also very hopeful that the Broken Inn is coming along and will be opening shortly. I hear good things, but we still don't have any ribbon cutting, so hopefully that will occur in the very near future. And we look forward to seeing all on Friday, March 4th at 8:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, on to my report. Over the last 7 weeks, I've had the opportunity to work closely with our department heads. And this month, I held our first department head meeting, and I was able to learn about some of our challenges, our successes, and our goals for the upcoming months. Given my experience as a teacher, leader, and a professor, I was inspired to bring some of my expertise to continuous improvement in Town Hall. So I've had the opportunity to put some of those coaching skills to work as I support our employees in growing professionally. They are learning new skills, putting them into practice, and then assessing their growth. And in the 7 weeks, I've already had some exciting opportunities to do this work. It's something that I really enjoy immensely. With that said, I also recognize the importance to seek outside expertise to augment our team. I am very eager to enhance our knowledge and of our internal HR resources. And by doing so, we're looking at a human resources firm that specializes in the needs of municipalities. This is one of my top priorities, and I want to thank our town comptroller and our town attorney for helping put this together efficiently and with great care. We worked within the $19,200 amount that was budgeted for this HR position within the personnel costs for the comptroller's department within the general fund. It was our goal to deliver the best expertise and services within that budget. We considered hiring an HR professional with municipal experience on a part-time basis. We surveyed 4 different HR firms to see the combination of services and expertise that our budget could afford. We followed the processes in the town's purchasing policy for professional services and consultants between the cost of $13,000 and $19,999. And of the 4 firms, 3 were able to provide the formal written proposals that fit our needs. The town comptroller used her discretion, and this agreement was discussed in Finance Committee with all the town board members. Comptroller Greenwood gave a very thorough presentation. She answered questions and all that happened before being brought here tonight. After considering all of the options, including hiring a part-time employee within the $19,200 budget, it was clear to us that entering into an agreement with public sector HR consultants is the best way to augment our internal HR resources. This is a professional firm that not only has a long list of municipal clients, but also clients that are similarly sized and comparable to our town. The town of Bethlehem, the town of Woodbury, the town of Fishkill, and 36 other towns, the city of Saratoga Springs, and 23 other cities and villages, Schenectady County, Albany County, and 14 other counties are all clients. Our comptroller's office has a lot of expertise in the interplay between pay and benefits administration, as well as collective bargaining and civil service requirements. But by bringing HR public sector consultants, we get even more support. Specifically, our employees will have telephone and email consultation available. Department heads and employees will be able to contact on matters pertaining to human resource management and labor relations. We will have guidance to manage supporting corrective action and progressive discipline. In other words, coaching. Our employees want to grow professionally, and I believe that this HR service will help all of us do just that. We will be updating the employee handbook, which has been also a pressing issue and brought to my concern, particularly by Judge Swinton. It will also provide us guidance to personnel management, supporting workers' compensation, disability, and FMLA administration, civil service guidance, COBRA guidance, and drug and alcohol testing policy administration. I'll highlight one example of how this agreement will help. Contextualizing is important. This firm will guide our department heads through situations requiring corrective action and progressive discipline. These complementary policies are key to intervening early in situations that have the potential for workplace conflict, including harassment and discrimination. This expertise, to add to what we already have, is an important step to improving communication and preventing small problems from growing into larger problems, which eventually will cost us more money. Our new system will also give employees multiple ways to report workplace misconduct. It is important that employees have outside expert professionals who they can go to if they wish. And if needed, an outside firm can conduct an independent, fair, and impartial investigation. It's a layered approach that I think is built to succeed, and the cost is within our budget, with a yearly cost of $13,800. One incredibly important aspect to my role as town supervisor is to lead and support our employees so they can do their best work, and I believe we are heading in that right direction. I've also spent time working on our website, and I've had the great support of the confidential secretary, Susan Pulsinelli, who has been working incredibly hard to update the web pages for the departments and our committees. I've also spoken to residents over the past few weeks about their growing traffic concerns, and I meet with Chief Koshin regularly to discuss potential solutions. And finally, with regard to economic development, I am working on bringing some new businesses to our ShopRite Plaza to fill some of our vacant locations. So all of these issues have always been important to me: public safety, economic development, and also human resources. Again, I want to make sure that the town hall and our town is a great place to work so that we can provide great services to our community members. Thank you. Moving on to resolutions. We will start with resolution number 2022-47, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of agreement with CSEA.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
This resolution passes. Resolution 2022-48, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution promoting an employee to the position of principal account clerk.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-49, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing certain budgetary modifications.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-50, Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution awarding a contract for the Niskayuna Police Department vehicle maintenance for 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-51, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor of the highways to advertise for bids for mowing services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
This resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-52, Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution enacting a local law to amend Chapter 203 of the Town Code of the Town of Niskayuna entitled Vehicle and Traffic.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to thank Councilmember Brennan and Chief for continuing to work on this. I know that we started this when I was the chair of this committee. I want to thank you for continuing this and one step in trying to relieve some of the problems on Story Ave. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I would also like to thank everybody here in Town Hall who was involved in this local law. But I also think it's especially important to thank the residents on Story Ave. I was impressed last month how many residents showed up for the public hearing to speak. I thought it was great that most of them also attended the police and public safety meeting earlier this month. And I believe there's a couple of them here tonight as well. So I think it's great to see that they are advocating for themselves to make their neighborhood and their street a safer place. I think it is a great example of how great things can be accomplished when everybody works together. And I am proud to support them in making their neighborhood a little bit safer.
Yes, working together works. Thank you. Seeing no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
the resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-53, Councilmember Brennan, will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Schenectady County for participation in the New York State Traffic Safety Options Program for driving while intoxicated.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
this resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-54, Councilmember McPartland and Councilmember Moskowitz.
A resolution authorizing the authorizing the superintendent of highways to advertise for bids for temporary labor.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
the resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-55, Councilmember McPartland and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution repealing Resolution 2021-201.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
the resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-56, Councilmember McPartland and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution terminating an employment of an individual.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I would like to make a motion to amend this resolution. The effective date of this individual's termination was December 29th of last year, which was prior to me taking office. So I would like to remove my name from this resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the amendment?
Councilmember should he vote on that? No.
Abstain.
I can vote on the amendment, but not the resolution, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes on the amendment.
the amendment passes. Is there any discussion about the resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
I will abstain for the reasons already mentioned.
Thank you. Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
4 ayes.
the resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-57, Supervisor Puccioni, will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a member participation agreement with workers' comp carrier.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-58, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution accepting an extension of bids for materials and services used by the Highway Department in its paving operations for 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-59, Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution amending a service agreement with workers' compensation carrier.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-60, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution accepting quotes for the purchase of seed, mulch, fertilizer, and spreading services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
This resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-61, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution amending resolution number 2022-30.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
This resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-62, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz.
A resolution authorizing the disposition of its certain surplus vehicles and equipment.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. We're on 63, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution number 2022-63, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz.
A resolution authorizing the repair of a Ford F-250 used in the town's water and sewer department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-64, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution to authorize the superintendent of highways to advertise bids for the maintenance of holding ponds in the town.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-65, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the fourth quarter corporate utility warrant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. This resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-67, Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
We're on 6.
I'm sorry, did I skip one?
It's
6. Can you see that? Resolution number 2022, Councilmember McPartlin and Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing renewal of a contract for billing software in the Water and Sewer Department.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Don't want to forget this one. This is the SCADA system that I talked about, so we want to make sure we get that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Seeing no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. This resolution you have to abstain from.
Thank you.
Resolution number 2022-67, Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution setting hourly rates for certain part-time employees in the senior center.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Abstain.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
4 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-68, Councilmember Brennan. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the town to expend matching funds in conjunction with a grant for body-worn cameras to be used in the town police department.
Thank you. I will second that. Is there any discussion? I just want to thank you for your work, Councilmember Brennan, and thank you, Chief Koshin, and thank you to the Comptroller's Office and our grant writer for helping with this process. I think this is going to really move us forward, and I appreciate all the work. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. This resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-69, Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution establishing a meal reimbursement rate for the town officials and employees.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-70, Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a contract for human resource counseling services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make some comments, Supervisor. I'll start off by saying that I absolutely do support our municipal employees. I truly do believe that it's those employees who allow this town to function every day, and I'm very grateful for the work that they do. And I do believe making the appropriate human resource services available to them is paramount. In the past, I feel that the town probably could have saved a great deal of turmoil and litigation had these services always been available. My concern, however, is that I'm not sure if hiring a consultant and committing to a monthly fee and then an additional hourly rate for uncontracted services is the right way to go about this. I understand that the town's procurement policy was adhered to in obtaining quotes for HR services, but of course this comes at a cost to the taxpayers. And to my knowledge and in reviewing the adopted budget, I did not see where that was budgeted for. I agree that we definitely do need some form of HR support, and we need to provide sufficient resources for our employees to utilize. But I feel that there should be some more discussion before we commit, and we must keep our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers in mind when making this decision. In the meantime, we have competent staff in the Comptroller's office, and we have an extremely knowledgeable town attorney to advise us on many of the same issues that we're contracting with this consulting firm for. With that being said, I make a motion that we table this resolution to allow for further discussion.
I have a question. Did you reach out to the comptroller to ask where this line was budgeted?
I reviewed the adopted budget, and there was a line item for consulting services that was left at zero.
Okay, so if you had reached out to her, you would have understood that the line was zeroed out because it is now under the personnel services. And there's actually $30,000 in the budget to support an HR professional, whether that's hired in-house or a consulting firm.
Okay, I may have asked something similar to that during our finance committee, and I don't recall that being explained during finance. In the event that the motion to table is not seconded, I will vote yes on the resolution, but to show my support for our employees and for the services that they deserve. I also think it's important that in conjunction with the consulting firm, we regularly analyze how often we're utilizing their resources to ensure that the expenditure is justified.
That's fair. I'm all for analyzing data and improving processes. Is there any other discussion?
So there is a motion on the table. So next up would be if there's a second on that motion.
Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Is there a discussion on the table?
So the second on the motion was to table the motion, was the second was to go forward with the original motion?
So there was a motion on the motion to table the resolution. Then the question was, is there a second on that motion to table?
Okay.
Then there would go to discussion on the motion to table with a vote on the motion to table. If the
Okay.
vote is passed, or if the vote is aye, then the resolution would be tabled. If the vote is majority no, then it would be open for a further motion.
So I did second the motion to table. I seconded because as far as the discussion goes, I just want to state that this has been going on for quite some time. It's a result of our two comptrollers ago and the very expensive investigation that resulted therefrom. Investigation that I think was unnecessary, but was had nonetheless. It was felt that the town attorney could fill the role of comptroller and actually did for just a very short period of time. Then it went back to the comptroller's office, and it was determined that we had to separate that because it was creating conflicts in the comptroller's office with other department heads and the like. So after much discussion and deliberation, this is the plan that the supervisor came up with. And I do think for a starting point, it's a very good plan. Certainly, we can change it as time goes on. We may well change it, but I am in favor of moving forward with this plan.
Will the clerk please call the roll for this?
If there's no further discussion on the motion to table, then there would be a roll call as to the motion to table.
So my recommendation or my thoughts on the motion to table are that that isn't a good idea. John, as you know, we've struggled with this HR issue for quite a long time here. And the supervisor has come up with a plan. We've used consultants for HR in the past. And now this is just a contract to really firm that up and make it more accessible for all of us as employees of the town to have a specific HR organization, consulting firm that anybody in the town can contact, any board member, any employee of the town. And so I don't think that tabling it at this point is a good idea. I think we need to move forward with this resolution. And it doesn't mean that we're not tied into, that we're tied into it forever. I think your idea of monitoring it, as you and I discussed earlier in the day, Councilman, that yes, we want to see how much we're using it. Are we getting our money's worth? But and speaking about that, from value, I think this is a very, good level to be at. People talked about trying to hire someone temporarily or a part-time person for HR. We've tried that. We haven't really ever gotten anybody that could fill that role for us here at the town. So going this route, I think, is the right way to go, and monitor it and see how it works. So my thought about tabling it is I wouldn't recommend that.
I do appreciate all of those comments, and like I said, I will vote in favor of the resolution should it not pass the table, because I do believe that it is a service that is needed, but I do think it's important to monitor its use and ensure that it is a fiscally responsible decision.
Thank you. Call the roll on the motion to table.
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
No.
Councilmember McPartlin.
No.
Councilmember Brennan.
No.
Supervisor Puccioni.
No.
So we have, the majority is no.
The motion to table does not pass. Returning to resolution number 2022-70. Is there any discussion? I think I already received a second on it.
Yeah.
I did. Thank you.
Seeing no other discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
This resolution passes. Thank you. At this time, I am introducing Local Law C of 2022. Resolution number 2022-71, Councilmember De La Rada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing regarding adding a historic preservation code to the Niskuna Town Code.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-72, Councilmember De La Rada. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution taking action on an application for a special use permit for a purposed daycare in a place of worship located at 1930 Hillside Avenue.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I am excited to see that there will be additional early care and education services in the town of Niskuna. As you know, I study early childhood development, and so I have a special place in my heart for our early care providers. Thank you so much for the work you do, and I wish you the best of luck. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Thank you. So that is all we have for tonight's agenda. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We stand adjourned, and we'll, thank you.
You did 24 hours ahead.